Hello?
What up, man?
How's it going?
Good.
A cop in Michigan sees a really drunk driver at 2 a.m. and he pulls him over. Then he realizes it's his coworker, an off-duty police officer at the same department. It's his buddy who just basically smiles at him, and they both know that he's in big trouble.
You know I stopped you?
Yeah.
But not to worry, everything will be okay because they're the cops, and they can just turn their body cams off, collect no evidence, and drive him home. And then the public will never even find out about it, right? At 2:11 a.m. on June 1st, 2024, an on-duty Ludington, Michigan police officer on patrol identified a vehicle driving erratically and in a manner consistent with a drunk driver, or as they call it in Michigan, OWI, operating while intoxicated. Dashcam footage shows the vehicle rolling through a stop sign, crossing the center line, striking curbs, and reaching speeds of up to 56 miles per hour in a 30 mile per hour zone before being stopped. It appears to be either a drunk driver or maybe someone suffering from a medical emergency. Fortunately, because it's 2:11 a.m., there are very few vehicles on the roads, so nobody was injured prior to this vehicle being stopped. As the on-duty officer, Officer Noah Noble of the Ludington, Michigan Police Department, walks up to the driver's side window of the vehicle that he had just stopped, he almost immediately recognizes the driver as one of his work colleagues, an off-duty police officer employed by the same department. It was Officer Austin Mendez.
Hello?
What up, man?
How's it going?
Good.
Officer Noble asks his coworker where he was coming from. He was coming from the Gasoline Alley bar, by the way, where he was going to, and how much he had had to drink. Mendez can be seen with basically a blank stare on his face and slurred speech.
Where are you coming from?
Valley.
You know I stopped you?
Yeah.
Central 207. Cancel that plate. 216 Freaking Road. Where are you headed to? Okay. How much alcohol have you had tonight?
3 beers.
3? Okay. Got your ID on you today? Thank you. Hang tight.
Officer Noble then suspends the usual procedures for the stop and he returns to his patrol vehicle. He calls his supervisor, Sergeant Angela Babinak, who arrives shortly afterwards. And as soon as she arrives on the scene, Sergeant Babinak directed Officer Noble to turn off his body cam as well as his in-car recording devices. And then she turned off her own cameras. Sergeant Babinak then transported the off-duty officer, Austin Mendez, to his own residence. No field sobriety tests, no breath tests were conducted. No law enforcement investigation or action was taken at all. Approximately 4 hours later, Supervisor Babinak notified her supervisor of the incident, and then an internal investigation was launched and then completed within just 72 hours. So what happened with the investigation? Apparently, there really wasn't any doubt about what had actually happened. This was definitely misconduct here. He was definitely driving drunk, and his coworkers definitely covered it up. Those were the findings, and officers were disciplined at the time. So the driver, off-duty officer Austin Mendez, who was a probationary officer at the time, yet somehow was actually on their SWAT team, received a 24-hour unpaid suspension, removal from the SWAT team, and a 12-month extension of his probationary period. The supervisor, Angela Babinek, was demoted from the rank of sergeant to officer and was also given a 24-hour unpaid suspension. Officer Noah Noble, who was the officer who made the initial stop, he was cleared of any policy violations after investigators determined that he sought supervisory guidance due to the involvement of a coworker and that he followed the directions that he was given. What about the fact that this guy was driving drunk? Was he criminally charged? According to the police chief, the Michigan State Police were contacted on June 3rd, 2024, to conduct an independent investigation, and after doing so, they forwarded their findings to the prosecutor, who apparently declined to authorize criminal charges due to insufficient evidence. Why was there insufficient evidence? Well, the officer who would have collected the evidence, along with his supervisor, turned off their body cams and muted their cameras. So not only did they not collect additional evidence of OWI, but they purposefully destroyed evidence. I say additional evidence because as a former DUI prosecutor, having tried upwards of 30 DUI trials as a prosecutor, not that that's a lot, I didn't make a career out of it. I actually see plenty of evidence for a prosecutor who actually wants to do her job. You have video evidence of him driving. That can't be disputed. He's speeding, he's swerving, he's hitting curbs. The only other driver on the road is sticking his hand out of his window, waving the cop by to pass him. Like, go ahead, please go get that drunk driver off the street. That can't be disputed. You have video evidence of him driving while intoxicated. It's on video. You have evidence that he was the one behind the wheel. It's on video. And then you have the eyewitness testimony from the officers on the scene who knew who he was, who had the opinion at the time that he was intoxicated. All you have to do is subpoena those witnesses just like any other trial, put them on the stand, and place them under oath. What are they going to say? He wasn't intoxicated? Actually, it would be a piece of cake prosecution. So what's the deal? Why not prosecute him? Well, that decision was made when the public was completely in the dark about this whole incident. None of this would even be made public for another 18 months, which only occurred after the public caught wind of it through some sort of leak and people started talking about it on social media. It was only at that point that the chief of police issued a public statement that this had happened and ordered the release of the investigation report and the video footage. So would the result have been different had the public been made aware of the incident back when it happened? Officer Mendez could have been prosecuted here. Just looking at Michigan's operating while intoxicated law, these are the essential elements that would need to be proven in order to obtain a conviction. That Officer Mendez operated a motor vehicle, easy. Secondly, on a public roadway, easy. And lastly, while intoxicated at the time, proven by either being under the influence or having a BAC of 0.08 or more. Now, there's no evidence of what his actual BAC at the time was because that evidence was purposefully not collected. But that is not essential to obtain a conviction. It can just be proven that he was under the influence, which I believe means ability to drive substantially lessened. And can there be any doubt that we have video footage that Officer Mendez's ability to drive was indeed substantially lessened while he was operating this motor vehicle on a public roadway? Okay, and I get it. Not a whole lot of people care about these. I've done a number of police officer DUI double standard videos.
Command, we're going to need you out here. It's him. Stop! Right now! Stop! He's out of the median, just took off northbound.
People aren't really surprised, so they don't really care all that much. So yeah, this isn't the first time that this has happened, and it won't be the last time. The cover-up is always worse than the crime. I'm even more concerned that you have this supervisor who showed up on the scene and literally destroyed evidence. How can you continue to employ a police officer, much less a supervisor, who, it's undisputed, has destroyed evidence? And I wonder how many people she has personally arrested for OWI. And then you have Officer Mendez himself probably still out there right now arresting people, investigating people, making discretionary decisions about whether to arrest people for this same thing that he got away with.
How's it going?
And was dishonest about. He didn't take responsibility. He completely evaded responsibility. The only reason that we know about it now is because it leaked. Well, at least we have that. Let me know in a comment what you think. If I hear anything else, I'll do an update, and you can follow along by subscribing both here and at the blog, thecivilrightslawyer.com. You can follow me on X at JohnBryanESQ. Remember, our rights don't end where your fear begins. Freedom is scary. Deal with it.